Let's go over each piece of the system and try to detail as much as possible how it works. Our ability system component here has attributes, which again are just a float variable with a name to it. We have granted gameplay abilities, which are the abilities that this specific ability component can use. For example, a warrior will have some abilities, and the archer or wizard or enemy will have a different set of abilities. Abilities, when activated, are what is going to execute the rest of the system. To grant or to modify the abilities of the character, you can use the grant ability and remove ability. You call those at runtime. Tags are a way to manage your character state. You can use it for tag if it's on fire, to tag effects like buffs, debuffs, to tag the movement state, if you're dashing, if you're crouching, if you're jumping. And you can have all of those things connected to the gameplay ability system and have different options open up because of those states and because of those values. For example, if you don't want your character to crouch while he's jumping, you make an ability called jump and ability called crouch, and you specify that when you're jumping, you apply the tag jump on jump, and the crouch ability cannot be applied when the tag on jump is present on the ability system component. Instance queues. When we activate all those things, we want to display to the players what's happening. The instance queues they hold the list of all the queues that were instanced for this ability system component. So if he used some ability, or if he received some effect of some ability, he will instantiate some visual effects, some particle effects, some sound effects, and you can track those here. On attribute change is just a observable. It's just a action that is called whenever attribute changes and has its value on it. You can use it to have external components react to changes in the ability system component. When you have your game running with Gas, those four methods here are what you're mostly going to use. You want to get attributes, maybe you also want to observe, to subscribe to those changes here, so you can know what values the attributes have and react to them accordingly. Try activate ability is what your character controller is going to call to activate abilities and actions, spells. Again, gameplay abilities, they can be more than just abilities. They can be any action, really. For example, open door. You can make it an ability called open door, or interact, open chest. And whenever you try to activate that ability, you can have some ability tags checkings to see if you can do that action, to specify some behavior you want to have, and proceed with effects. Grantability and removability is how you will design your character progression around. You will change the levels of this gameplay ability. You can change the levels of the effects for scaling. This happens, you can change those when you're granting them, because you should create the ability, the instance of it, or you can make a reference to the scriptable object of the ability and change the variables before granting them. Remove, pretty self-explanatory, and apply gameplay effects and remove gameplay effect. These are mostly called by the component when trying to activate an ability and when the duration of the ability expires, but you can also call them yourself for some reason. For example, if you want to initialize some characters or entities with some mechanics already, for example, a always present life regeneration, you don't need an ability for that. You can just apply the effect of life regeneration that is reading a attribute, and you can make that on as soon as you initialize that entity. Now let's go over the rest of it. The gameplay tag is a scriptable object. You can reuse it across different objects. You can use it on gameplay abilities. You can use it on gameplay effects. You can also use them on external classes and external components to make even more custom behaviors. For example, if the character is sprinting, you have the ability sprinting, which applies a movement speed bonus effect to your movement speed attributes, and also apply the sprinting tag to the ability system component, so enemies can aggro from a longer distance, because if your character is sprinting, it's more visible, it makes more noise, and so enemies should behave in a slightly different way. You can just put a tag on it, and then on your enemy spawner, you can check if the ability system component has that tag and then behave differently to it. Once that ability is activated, we'll have those effects being applied. This is what's going to be called apply gameplay effect. It will try, first thing, it will try to apply the modifiers to attributes. Modifiers, they can add, they can multiply, and they can override the attributes. We have a few flavors of modifiers. They can be just a simple value, a static constant value. They can be a scalable value, which scales with a animation curve. For example, if you want to have a modifier values scale exponentially with the level of the character or the abilities, you can just make a exponential curve, exponential animation curve. We can have those being read by a CSV file, and we can have those modifiers reference other attributes. For example, if you want we also have modifiers that reference other attributes. So for example, if you want to have mana transferred from health, we have a modifier that reads another attribute and then gets the value in there and outputs that value. Now, here is the most flexible piece of the system, which is calculations. Calculations are a way to execute custom code. You can do literally anything here. You just extend a base calculation class and implement an execute function, and you can literally put any code you want inside it. There we go. That was our detailed review. A bit boring if you ask me, but it's nice to look at the diagram and go over the small pieces and have some information about what they do.